Bootsy's new album. What have I got to say about William Bootsy Collins, okay? I love playing bass. I was studying upright bass in the 4th grade. Regretfully gave that up, but, now I'm doing bass lines on GarageBand and trying hard to invent my own. I love the possibilities of the bottom. And, with all the bass players that I love, from, Marcus Miller to Victor Wooten, all of these people, James Jamerson over at Motown, Larry Graham, all of the giants, they created different ends of the funk and soul idiom of a bass player. Now, as far as Bootsy here, he is a funk idiom. Okay, every time he plays, he's a funk idiom. And, I can't overrate that. That's why he did things like Groove is in the Heart, why he worked on Bill Laswell projects in the 90s like Zillotron. He is so incredibly versatile. He brings, I guess I could call it the Bootsy funk into everything that he does. And, when his last album came out about 7 years ago, it was called The Funk Capital of the World. Basically I wrote about it on Amazon as being something of a review. It was focused on a lot of other artists, and he actually had guest speakers on the last album. There were people like, Cornel West, Al Sharpton, Samuel L. Jackson, who did a great job and a great tribute to Bootsy's Cincinnati roots. And, that's a good thing about him. And when I heard about this album, I thought, oh, it's another review sort of format with a lot of guest artists. And to me, it sort of seemed to encroach on Bootsy's playing, his writing, and his vocals, just what makes him what he is. But I heard one thing. The vinyl was going to be kind of a special thing. If you look at the cover looks like Bootsy's playing. It's all very colorful. I don't know if you can see up there. Let me try to get a good zoom into it. It says Bootsy Collins Worldwide Funk, featuring the late Dr. Bernie Worrell and a bunch of other people we're going to talk about later, and a 140 gram splatter double LP with a download card. I had to order this in at Boom Moose, actually. They never get a copy in. But there's the back of the album. Now, when I looked at the guest list on this particular album, it was a whole different story. He brought in Dougie Fresh and Big Daddy Kane, who I just discovered and I love. Big Daddy Kane, he's an amazing artist from hip-hop's golden age of the late 80s. And he's got Eric Gales, Dennis Chambers, and the late Bernie Worrell also made an appearance on this album, and Victor Wooten and Stanley Clarke. Stanley, another major bass player from the jazz funk world, and of course, Buckethead. So the guest stars on this are more musical oriented, Music Soul Child. So again, the focus is more music here than guest speakers or rappers so much. So now I'm actually kind of really looking forward to hearing what Bootsy's up to at this point. So what we're going to do now is we are going to unbox this in a very stupid way, because on a lot of these vinyl records now, they're making them harder and harder to open, I certainly understand theft, but easy availability for the person who went out and bought the album is a whole other thing. And there it is, unboxed. And it's got a gatefold. There's Bootsy double-bassed. I only need to order in a pair of those star glasses. My journey to find the one, there's a little testimonial up there. Gratitude, a whole lot of liner notes. I only ever had one other album by Bootsy on vinyl, and that was This Boot Is Made for Funkin'. I think I gave it to my dad, and sort of regret it now, in a lot of ways. And it's got another P-Funk classic thing, a booklet. A lot of the old Parliament Funkadelic albums of the 70s came with comics. Oh my goodness, I just love that. This is my first time opening this. Bootsy perming his hair. I love that woman winking at him. I would love to be in line in front of this man. As a matter of fact, I would love to be in every one of these situations with Bootsy. As George Clinton said, free from the need to be free. Bootsy is funky, and he does not care if he stands out. Here he is, the fourth stooge, I guess. Yep. Bootsy is the character. I love that. You know, this is one of the best booklets I've ever seen. Fantastic, amazing artwork. Okay, this is totally worth buying the vinyl alone for. But what I really wanted to look at was the vinyl itself. Here's the label. It's a custom label. And when you open it up, even the vinyl is funky. There's that splatter vinyl. Yellow and greens and reds. That is the first album. And so we're not missing anything. We have the download card to deal with. The Mascot label group. It's bigger than other download cards. And there we have it. I want to take out the other record too, to give a sense of thoroughness. And this is an album. I've actually this is the first year I've actually been getting into buying a lot of new vinyl, but the next vinyl, I guess it's sort of the same thing, only the label is maybe a little more orange. You know, this new vinyl thing with special colored records is perfect for Bootsy because part of his funk is visual presentation. On stage, his albums, you know, the whole thing's meant for thy pleasure. To lick thy funky emotions. And here we have it. Worldwide Funk. Bootsy's new album. So I'm going to take this up, I'm going to give this a listen, and I'm going to come back with a little mini review of this album. I have just finished up with 71 minutes of funk, and you know something? In terms of the review, musical format, this album works completely. I'm not really going to set it against the last album, per se, but personally, I prefer what he does here because there is so much more Bootsy coming through. It's not the vocals, it's the music, and it's the bass, the bass, the bass. It is all over all of the songs on this album. And I'm going to run down them all. I'm going to run down all of these songs. Not so much the guests, but what the songs are. The title song begins the album. Dougie Fresh raps on it, and it has an intro from Iggy Pop, of all people. And it's a great intro. You know, Iggy Pop has an amazing speaking voice, especially these days. The next song, you know, it deals with P-Funk when it got to that, you know, fine wine level in the late 70s with, you know, One Nation Under a Groove and Not Just Knee Deep and Never Buy Texas from a Cowboy or whatever. And the song is called Bass Rig System. Now this brings in Victor Wooten and Stanley Clarke, you know, all working together, and it all comes in perfectly. You know, these people were all kind of different sides of the bass funk situation in the 70s through the 90s, but here they are all together, and it just flows like you wouldn't believe. Now I'm going to mess around with songs here that are in different parts of the album that actually have that same late 70s P-Funk sort of sound. You know, Hot Saucer is another great example. You know, Music Soul Child and Big Daddy Kane on their vocals and raps flow together the same way Victor and Stanley do on Bass Rig System. And Candy Coated Lover, that's another amazing track in that same vein. The synth bass on that just throbs like you wouldn't believe. Now, Snow Bunny, you know, actually had that same kind of effect. You know, this kind of, I would say, sort of a disco funk guitar on Candy Coated Lover. And, you know, Bootsy did that kind of thing to great effect on an album I mentioned before, This Boot Is Made for Funkin', on one of my favorite, and I think underrated Bootsy songs, She Jam, which is fantastic. Now, if you want serious funk like the title track, there's Pusher Man, Farrah P, and High on Heels. And there's also a song called Come Back Bootsy. Now, these are songs that, you know, are just slow-tempoed, thudding, rhythm guitar-based funk. A lot of voices, a lot of overlapping instrumentation, just busy P-Funk at its prime. You know, everybody's getting really musical on those cuts. Heaven Yes, it's sort of a modern ballad And it's that love power that I read about in Mojo magazine, how Bootsy, out of all of P-Funk, he knew how to work the funk and he knew how to work the ballads. And he does a song on here that salutes Bernie Worrell that featured Dr. C. Bernie Worrell actually playing on it. He had mixed that in. It has a rhythm that I'm not sure if Bootsy is that comfortable with, kind of a trap thing, but he uses it pretty inventively. But Bernie's, keyboards are all over it, that video game sound, as Henry calls it. Henry Hopkins, a little shout out to you. I know you love your P-Funk for sure. And then we have Boomerang. Now, Boomerang is a really interesting cut because it takes this really old-timey 12-bar blues and it mixes it up with this funk right out of Roto-Rooter, from 1978. So it has the funk and it has the hardcore blues and shows you where the two always meet. Only, it's kind of like something I could hear Outkast doing. Andre 3000, Andre Benjamin was really good at that kind of thing. Probably still is. Worth My While is a classic P-Funk ballad. It opens the last end of the record. And the album ends with Allusions, which is a heavy rocker with Buckethead and the Black Seeds, I don't know how you pronounce them, who are great female rappers who, appear at different points of the album with a strong black female perspective, which I really appreciate. And of course, Chuck D raps on it, and it's a great funk rock hybrid, very, very funkadelic on that song in sound and quite literally. So in the end, Worldwide Funk absolutely delivers. It has the great Bootsy ballads. It has a wonderful, communal use of all of the guest stars involved, and it's all musical. The hip-hop collaborations make a statement. The musicians that are on here make a musical statement, and Bootsy makes his statements right up front. So, if you want to get into any of the, New Millennium Bootsy collaborative albums, and there have actually been several of different sorts, this new one would definitely be the one to go to, because Bootsy's spirit is all over it. And, his tribute to Bernie Worrell is amazing. He refers to it as Brother Nature. And, one day, Bootsy will be Brother Nature too. His body will be gone, but his funk will be alive. And now both of them are alive here, so enjoy while we got him. Bootsy's in his 70s now, and he's a man we should really be appreciating as an artist and for what he did. So any of you big or little funketeers, if you want to go out there and get some great new funk, this is a good place to do it. Vinyl, CD, download, whatever you please. Get this and introduce some new P into your life. P as in funk. See you next time.